the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Justice League, and even Street Fighter. The Power Rangers, or specifically the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, are absolutely no strangers to crossovers at this point, especially when it comes to the comics. And well, today, we actually had a brand new Power Rangers Boom Studios crossover comic event announced. This time for a franchise that does make a lot of sense for Power Rangers to cross over with. Godzilla, the king of monsters himself. They're going to be doing a special comic series crossing over Godzilla and the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which honestly is just like a perfect match made in heaven. So let's go ahead and talk about this news and what I think of it. So this news dropped this afternoon as kind of a joint announcement from IDW Publishing and Boom Studios, which makes sense there, because obviously Boom Studios is the ones in charge of the Power Rangers comics. They have been for over 5 years at this point, I believe. And IDW, I guess, is the ones who does Godzilla comics. I'm not very familiar with Godzilla comics whatsoever. In fact, I don't even think I knew that there was a Godzilla comic line. I mean, I'm not surprised that there is, but I had never heard anything about one. But yeah, I mean, this is really cool. It makes a lot of sense for them to do this as a crossover due to the fact that Godzilla, I mean, is like the original tokusatsu, you know? He's like the one that started all of this. You know, we wouldn't have Ultraman, Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, and of course Power Rangers if we didn't have Godzilla here. So, and of course, we have the Dragon Zord from Mighty Morphin Season 1, the iconic Zord of Tommy Oliver, the Green Ranger, which more or less just is Godzilla, just like in a robot form, and not like Mecha Godzilla, but like a Power Rangers version of Mecha Godzilla, kind of. So it's just really neat, and it's a perfect pairing to have these two franchises clash, and I'm kind of pretty surprised that they haven't done this before, you know? I mean, other franchises that we've had crossovers with, I don't think haven't made sense, but I think are kind of lower on the end of ones you would think of right away before you would think of Godzilla, you know, something already within its genre, within those Japanese roots and such like that, with giant monsters and, you know, giant dinosaur creatures and all this stuff here. So yeah, this makes a lot of sense. It just makes a lot of sense. It's not a crossover I was expecting out of nowhere. I mean, this did just drop out of nowhere. I mean, we did have a Fan First Friday last week that had some comic news, but that was tailor-focused towards the Power Rangers universe stuff coming out and the Altarian War going on in Mighty Morphin and Power Rangers, which all that is awesome. And I don't ever really talk about the comics here, although let me know down in the comments below if you guys would like me to talk about the comics here on the channel some more. I'd totally be down for it, even though I'm very, very behind on them. This will just be another comic series added to my ridiculous backlog of Boom Studios comics that I need to read for Power Rangers, but I think it's neat that we are doing these crossovers. I think that it's been fun to see what has been able to come from them. I mean, especially things like the Lightning Collection figures of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from that crossover that we are just now seeing ship out and such like that. So I guess in technicality, we can now put Godzilla on a potential Lightning Collection figure, not predictions, but like wish list now? I suppose maybe a Zap Dragon Zord could go nicely with a big Godzilla figure. I mean, we are getting a Zap Dragon Zord in 2022, even though that hasn't yet to be announced yet. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not very well versed in Godzilla merchandise to know what a good 1/144th scale, you know, Godzilla figure would be, but I'm sure there's something out there that could be compatible enough here. But let's kind of look at the details of this crossover and what we're going to be getting out of it here. So it was announced here that the premise behind Godzilla vs. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is when Rita Repulsa uses an ancient artifact to transport herself to a universe without Power Rangers, she finds herself in a world with aliens, kaiju, and Godzilla. Hoping to annihilate this new foe, Rita hurls her own terrible creatures into battle, but she never expects that the Rangers have followed her to this alternate reality, pitting the Dinozords themselves head-to-head with the king of the monsters. So that's already a pretty fun premise right there, so obviously, just based off of how it's, you know, worded, this is going to be some kind of alternate universe, so we're going to be crossing over to Godzilla's universe, and it's not supposed to be like the Ninja Turtles crossover, where we're supposed to believe that like Godzilla or the Ninja Turtles have just existed in the Power Rangers universe this entire time. Well, that's the direction the Ninja Turtles comics went, or the crossover went. This one is going to be, at least from this premise, Godzilla is its own universe and does not exist in the Power Rangers universe here. Now, it's always kind of hard to tell what, you know, continuity, what universe canon we are seeing a version of Mighty Morphin of in these crossovers. You can kind of argue that it could be potentially the regular main comic universe version of Mighty Morphin. You could argue it's the show. You could argue it's some other universe world of it that's, only existing for a crossover purpose or whatever. This does seem to be a Season 1 era type of Mighty Morphin team, because Tommy here on the covers is shown as the Green Ranger, and of course you have the Dragonzord versus Godzilla and the cover art and everything, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's no way we're not going to get some kind of show-off between the two of them, or showdown between the two of them in this comic series. I mean, that has to happen. And looking at the cover right here, the first one we have by Freddie E. Williams II shows Godzilla with the Dragonzord in the background. You have the whole Mighty Morphin team on here, and they definitely look, to me, like, just the way it's stylized and everything, they look like the Legacy figures, because you have those exaggerated muscles and stuff. You have certain body parts on certain characters that are a little bit more exaggerated, in my opinion. You have certain things like that little spike that's poking out of Trini's helmet that's a little exaggerated. I'm not the biggest fan of this cover, to be perfectly honest. It's not bad art. I mean, the art is really pretty. I like how it looks in terms of, like, the talent. It's just not really my favorite kind of style, but I think this is supposed to be the main cover for this series, but we have a variant cover as well. This one being done by E.J. Su, which shows Godzilla versus the Dragonzord, like, right there on the front, along with Rita, Goldar, and the Green Ranger. And while this one, I don't necessarily love the, like, sketch kind of design of it, I think I like this one better overall for just kind of, what we're getting ourselves into here with Godzilla versus the Power Rangers. So, I mean, yeah, pretty neat. I'm sure we're going to get, like, a ton of variant covers. I mean, this always happens for, like, any of the Boom Studios stuff. I mean, it's not just a Power Rangers Boom Studios thing. The comic variant covers are all over the place for everything. But this looks to be a 5-issue series that's going to kick off in March of 2022. So, a nice collaboration between Boom Studios and IDW Publishing. And it is going to be written by Godzilla Cataclysms, which I'm assuming is the, like, current Godzilla comic or something. The author being Cullen Bunn. And the art is going to be primarily done by Freddie E. Williams II, whose original comic cover we see earlier that I talked about. The more exaggerated one here. So, yeah, interesting. I think this is definitely a fun little crossover that they've announced here. I will not read it as it comes out, more than likely. I will probably wait for a inevitable trade paperback that will probably come out in, like, the fall of 2022 or something. But I'm sure this will be a fun one to join the crossovers that we've gotten, like the TMNT and, the Justice League and Street Fighter and the video games and stuff like that. And it was really just kind of a perfect choice, honestly. I never would have thought of them doing a Godzilla thing, but, like, it makes perfect sense. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments below. Are you excited for this Godzilla vs. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers crossover? What would you like to see happen from it? And would you like this to eventually lead to Hasbro Lightning Collection Godzilla merchandise or something like that? Or do you think that there's just a good Godzilla figure? Actually, I would love to hear that too. Is there a good, like, 11.5-inch Godzilla figure that could be very nicely scaled with an inevitable Zap Dragonzord that we're getting next year? I'd love to know that, because that could be cool for display purposes for this. So, love to hear anybody's thoughts down in the comments below, and until next time, you can follow me on Twitter at LivingNerdJerky or at LightningFigPR, and I'll see you all next time.